During a very difficult time in the city of Bethlehem, when food was scarce everywhere, a family decided to seek a better life in another country called Moab. They were Elimelech, his wife Naomi, and their 2 sons. But as soon as they arrived there, something sad happened. Elimelech died, and Naomi was left only with the 2 boys. Years passed, the sons grew up and married to Moabite women, Orpah and Ruth. For 10 long years, the family lived there. But sadness knocked on the door again. Naomi's sons also died, leaving her completely alone in a distant land, without a husband, without children, and without resources to survive. Naomi, devastated and not knowing what to do, decided to return to Bethlehem upon hearing that the famine had finally ended and that the harvests were good again. She then asked her daughters-in-law to return to their own families so that they would have a new chance to start over. Orpah, crying a lot, said goodbye and returned home. But Ruth had something special in her heart. With eyes firm and full of love, she said to Naomi, "Don't ask me to leave you. Where you go, I will go. Where you live, I will live. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God." And so the 2 went together to Bethlehem. When they arrived, it was the barley harvest season. To support themselves, Ruth decided to work gathering ears of grain left on the ground by the reapers. She worked hard and from early morning, with courage and humility. It was then that the owner of that field, a kind man named Boaz, noticed her. Curious, he asked who that dedicated young woman was. Upon discovering that Ruth was the faithful Moabite woman who had cared for Naomi, Boaz was impressed by her kindness. He approached and said, "Ruth, you can glean here whenever you want. Here you will be safe and will have water and food." Ruth was surprised by such generosity, but Boaz had already heard of her faithfulness and decided to help her even more. He even asked the workers to deliberately drop ears of grain so that Ruth could bring plenty of food home. When Ruth returned home with a huge harvest, Naomi was amazed. And upon hearing the name Boaz, she could hardly believe it. He was a close relative of her late husband, someone who could take care of them according to the tradition of the time. With Naomi's advice, Ruth asked Boaz to be the redeemer of the family. Boaz saw in Ruth a virtuous, strong, and faithful woman, and he decided to marry her. It was a great joy. They formed a new family, and sometime later, Ruth had a baby named Obed, who would later become the grandfather of the great King David. Yes, the foreign girl who chose the path of faithfulness ended up being part of the great story of salvation and the family of Jesus. Incredible, isn't it? And so ends the wonderful story of Ruth, a woman who proved that kindness and faith can transform entire destinies.